Hello and welcome back to another weekly watches. This is going to be a very unprofessional one. The dogs have just been out for a walk and they're in and they're wet and they just like to step all over you when that happens. So if you see dogs, I apologise, but you probably like to see dogs. Dobby's here. This is Dobby. If you've seen me on a live stream, you'll have heard me talk. Dobby is a Chihuahua Jack Russell cross and she likes to be on film. Molly is looking a bit dishevelled. She's more interested in food than the camera. So anyway, let's get started. I haven't watched very much this past week. There are a couple that I may do a separate video on, which are Scream and Cocaine Bear, which we got to see in the cinema last weekend. So what I watched this week, we've got 5 things here. So we'll start off with Unwelcome on the 6th. I missed this at the cinema. This is actually set in Ireland. The synopsis says, break a promise, pay the price. Londoners Maya and Jamie escape their urban nightmare to the tranquility of rural Ireland, that's Dobby again, only to discover malevolent murderous goblins lurking in the gnarled ancient wood at the foot of their new garden. So I'll not read the rest of it. It's fun. It's not something you need to think a lot about. It's not going to be anything new you haven't seen before. I did like the goblins. You don't get to see an awful lot of them. Maybe a bit at the end, but all through the movie, very sparingly. It does move quite slowly. It was okay. It was fun. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's perfectly watchable. You're not going to see anything you know that's going to be groundbreaking, but it's a fun little watch. I think it's by the same people that did The Grabbers, which is much better if you want to watch like an Irish horror. On the 8th, I watched a 3-part documentary that's on Netflix at the moment about flight MH370. It's called The Plane That Disappeared. This is the one that happened in 2014. It was Malaysian Airlines and it was going, I believe, from Kuala Lumpur to, was it Beijing possibly? Doesn't say on here. In 2014, a plane with 239 people aboard vanishes from all radar. This docu-series delves into one of our greatest modern mysteries, Flight MH370. So it is what it says on the tin. Some people do feel we've had an answer because wreckage has been found. This goes into that a bit deeper. It finds certain ties of people that found the wreckage. That's quite interesting. It looks like, it certainly paints the idea that the public have been lied to. The dog's just burped, I do apologise. That people have been lied to. There's perhaps a little bit more to it than we think, that perhaps this wreckage that's been found maybe was planted. It's interesting. It's an interesting watch. It's a 3-part, I think like roughly 45 minutes per episode. I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Okay, so we've 3 left. Cocaine Bear and Scream we went to see on Saturday night at the cinema. Cocaine Bear I gave a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was fun. It was what I expected. It did make me laugh quite a bit throughout. The actress, I've forgotten her name, that played the ranger, I really enjoyed. I thought she was really good. It was silly. It's not to be taken so seriously. It was quite gory in places, which was delightful. I will say there's a little bit of sentimentality here and there, which I felt was just cringy, which wasn't... This was like a fun, gory, slapstick sort of movie. There's no place for swelling music and like people saying their feelings to each other. It ruined it for me. It didn't ruin the movie, but it took me out of the scene that I was watching at the time. I would recommend it for horror fans. I thought it was fun. 3.5 out of 5. The other one I was going to say finally, but there is one more. Scream 6. Now, I rated this lower than Cocaine Bear, which may surprise you. I'm not the biggest slasher fan in the world. There are slashers like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original Halloween, the original Scream, the first one, which I think are fantastic, are genius, are really well done. But I think a lot of the sequels are just excuses. It's like I love Saw, and I will admit the later Saw movies maybe aren't great, but I love them because it's my franchise. I think a lot of people feel about Halloween or Scream like that, it's their franchise, so they're sort of willing to overlook certain things that maybe the more casual viewer maybe isn't willing to overlook. Scream was a very typical slasher. With Scream, I really enjoyed the first 10-15 minutes. I think it set the pace well. There is a kind of reveal near the start, which was really refreshing, which was interesting. The middle played out like a typical slasher. One complaint I will make, I'm tired of the sort of like teeny, the Jenna Ortega, and people will hate that because Jenna Ortega is the flavour of the moment at the minute, but the girl that played her older sister, and is it Melissa Barrera? I love her. I think she's a really believable actress. She's like, if you want a beautiful woman in a movie, in a slasher, put someone like that in. She's just more relatable. She's more real as a character to me. Jenna Ortega, every time she opened her mouth, her voice just grated. It was high-pitched, it was screechy, it was like, It's like, I'm obviously not going to be swayed by the fact she's a very beautiful woman. She just irritated me. Everyone else is spot on. The acting's all decent in this. The special effects which they had, which to be fair wasn't an awful lot with blood, but they didn't have to do much with the special effects. But my main issues with this movie is implausibility all over the place. I'm going to do a spoiler review and a sort of like come with me thing, which I'll post, and if you've seen Scream, watch that because I'll go into detail about my issues. I really enjoyed kind of the ending, but we have that stupid like bolt-on piece at the end where you have to sort of like tie everything up with a bow, which I hate, which this could have ended really punchy. On two specific scenes would have worked really well, but I think for me it fell down because there were so many plot holes, there were so many inconsistencies, there were so many things like, well, that can't happen because this. The writing was really lazy. Like slashers today, and Scream's very guilty of this, seem to want to make it impossible for you as a viewer to predict, and not because it's clever, but because it cheats, and I will talk about that when I get to the spoiler review. So I gave it a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy it okay as a slasher. I didn't think it was groundbreaking. I didn't think it was amazing. I think it's one of the poorest in the franchise because of just some of the lazy decision making. But I can see why a lot of people will enjoy it. I enjoyed Cocaine Bear more than Scream because it sort of wore its heart in the sleeve. It was stupid. It didn't pretend to be anything else. And finally, I saw Missing. Now, I've been wanting to see this for months. This is kind of a follow-up to Searching, which I loved. You don't need to have seen Searching to watch Missing. So this one stars Storm Reid, who is popping up on so much now. She's a really good actress. So no one disappears without a trace. When her mother disappears while on vacation in Colombia with her new boyfriend, June's search for answers is hindered by international red tape. Stuck thousands of miles away in Los Angeles, she creatively uses all the latest technology at her fingertips to try and find her before it's too late. So I won't read any more of the synopsis. So this is basically the daughter searching for her mother. And as she does this, she discovers more and more secrets, more things that don't make any sense. She enlists the help of someone in the area who's a really good character who I really enjoyed. I enjoyed it. This is my kind of movie. I like the sort of on-screen, it's kind of like, it's not found footage, but it is in a way because we get a lot of what they're doing on screen. We get a lot of webcam footage, we get CCTV footage, piecing it all together. So it has that found footage feel that I've always, if you can hear a noise that sounds like a pig grunting, it's Dobby. Just in case you wondered. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I would recommend. I thought it wasn't actually as predictable as Searching. I worked out the ending. This one I didn't. This one was quite clever. I did enjoy it, so I would recommend Missing. Other than that, still watching The Last of Us. Haven't seen the last episode yet. I'm aware it's the finale. I was expecting there to be 10. Obviously there's only 9. So I think we'll watch that this evening. The series has been fantastic. It started off quite slow for me. Episodes 3 and 8 by far have been my favourite so far, so I'm really looking forward to 9 to see what happens. Well, I've played the game, I know what happens in the end, but obviously they've filled it out and they've given us much more in the series than we got in the game, so I'm looking forward to that, to see what happens. I intend to go back and finish The Walking Dead because we abandoned it when we went on holiday and just never got back into the routine of, and that's 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, so that's not good. So I think this week we're planning to see Champions and 65. 65 was my anticipated one that I really want to see, but my son desperately wants to see it. He was away at the weekend, so we're waiting till he can watch it with us. But, right, I've just had a hot dog thrown at me by Molly. Is this your hot dog? Do you want to show them your wet face? Do you want to show them your wet? Come here, Toby, see your wet face. Come on then. Molly has been out for a walk. This is Molly, the Yorkshire Terrier who likes to bark and who likes hot dogs. Is this your hot dog? She's all of a sudden very shy and she needs a groom. She's booked in to go to the groomers next week, aren't you? You are. Look at her paws. Like butter wouldn't melt. Now Dobby's jealous. Right, so there, you've met my dogs now. There you go, have your donut. Right, they're getting excited because my husband has left a tiny bit of dinner for them, as you have to do when you have dogs, and they want them to move so they can have the dinner. So I will leave it there. I'm going to do a spoiler review for Scream in a minute, so that will probably go up today or tomorrow. And I want to talk about another, actually I'll tell you now, another video I want to do. I have no intention of doing it, but I'm going to do it. It's about, I alluded to it briefly last week about Nicola Bulley. And just so much more stuff has happened. People are being censored, someone's been arrested, a YouTuber. There's just stuff coming out constantly and it's weird. They're trying to silence people and I don't know why. I don't know what's happening. I read a statistic that 14 people go missing in the UK every day, but this case, for some reason, I think because the surroundings of it were she just disappeared and nobody knew where she went. But when I go into sort of the case with you, which will probably go down like a lead balloon because a lot of people don't like you talking about it, but I just think it's very interesting and I want to share it with you guys, so I'll probably do that maybe next week when I get a chance. But yeah, Dobby's just not happy waiting for this dinner. I shall be back in another video to let you know my thoughts on Scream. Thanks for watching. Over and out from Lisa Lives.